Well, welcome back to the Winner Who This podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here, Pastor Dr. Joseph Tillman, D-Min Jr. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm a little tired, but I'm glad to be here.
Great.
Yeah. So look forward to talking about temptation one more time.
One more time. We promise that's it. Because we talked about
It's got to be it.
basically not temptation, I feel like, for
In that last episode,
an episode and a half or
Yeah.
almost 2 full episodes worth of time.
I'm not even sure what to title that. Anyways.
I'm like, I keep thinking, how is that temptation? And then I go back and that's where that started from.
Yep. Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, but this is our final episode on it for this run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
we'll inevitably come back to
Right.
it at some juncture, but yeah.
So have you had fun being a sinner?
Over the last week.
Over the last week?
Yeah, just, no. Don't ever really consider it fun being a sinner, Nate.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't help it.
I know. If you listened last week, you realize that what Nate's referring to is the fact that just my simply existing as a pastor
Yeah.
means that I'm in sin.
Yep.
So if you
Sucks-
don't know
sucks to be
why
you.
that would be, go listen to last week's episode and maybe you'll understand.
All right. Add again.
All right, here we go. Before we get started today with our questions, we want to shout out our sponsor, the Discipleship Group. The Discipleship Group is a systematic training for Christians who want to go deeper and grow stronger in their relationship with God. In these courses, Dr. Jay Zen brings you over 4 decades of study, pastoring, and teaching to equip the saints to make disciples. The Discipleship Group is a series of 6 books, each book consisting of 26 weeks. Therefore, it's 3 years of study. Each week has articles written by the author to read, a chapter from a supplemental book like The Passion for God or More Than a Carpenter, The Master Plan of Evangelism, and there's scripture readings each week from the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Psalms. I've used the Discipleship Group resources for over a decade. I've used them in groups of 2 to 3 people. I've used them in small groups up to 12 people. And I can tell you, as a pastor, as someone who spends a lot of time making disciples and meeting with others, that the Discipleship Group resources are the best that I have found for growing in our faith and for encouraging us to go and make disciples ourselves. Go to discipleshipgroup.com, check out their resources, find out information about Dr. J, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it.
Patreon.
All right, yeah, go to Patreon. We'd love you to support us, to help us continue to grow the channel and to be able to do all the things that we would like to do with it and reach people. So, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Website.
Go to the website, find out about us, check out our merch, and again, another way to support us.
Social media.
Yeah, go to social media, do all the likes, the subscribes, the follows, the shares, the comments, all of that.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
All right. More temptation. Here we go.
All right.
All right. First question. Why does God allow the devil to tempt us?
Why does God allow the devil to tempt us?
Yeah.
Man, you're going to hate me for this, but this is like going all the way back to Genesis chapter 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to talk about Job.
Oh, well, no, not Job. Not yet anyways.
Okay.
So, no, I mean, God allows the fact for there to be temptation because there has to be the choice of whether we're going to choose him and following him or not. In other words, a choice has to exist. So temptation has to be there for there to be for there to be a choice to exist.
For us to pick him.
Yes, because there has to be free will involved, right? We have been made, with free will as part of the image of God. As part of the image of God that we have, and so therefore, from point one, even in the garden, there had to be an opportunity, a temptation, if you were, for us to sin, and that was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
All right, well, we'll get back to talking about temptation after we talk about free will for an episode and a half.
No, we're not going to go off on a tangent. Don't worry. We're staying focused.
Okay, so but why? Oh, right. So why does he allow the devil to do it when there's already other ways for us to be tempted? Like if I could do bad stuff without the devil helping me
right
do bad stuff, then why does he allow that level of temptation also?
I got you. Because, what's interesting about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is God is the one that put it there.
Right.
Right? So you've got perfect...
But somehow we already answered that God doesn't ever tempt us.
Right. So there's perfect creation. We've not fallen. And yet God says, here's the thing. It's like, in other words, he's giving us the opportunity to obey or disobey. Right?
Okay.
And what Satan has come along and doing is tempting us into the opportunity to disobey.
Like don't push that button.
Right. Don't push that button.
Yeah.
I better push the button. Yeah. So
I'm going to push it.
Right. Yeah. So, and you're right. And that is why the devil, one of his names, in scripture is the tempter, right? Like that's what he is doing. And so, but in regards to why God allows that, I think really it's just for that same fact of that, because there has to be, again, that choice of whether we're going to obey, to follow the Lord, or not follow the Lord.
Okay.
And so, and unfortunately, Satan's role in all of this is that he is, that's what he wants to do. He wants to take as many individuals as he possibly can away from the Lord. And so, and again, to your point of, well, but why does God allow it? Like God could just remove Satan from the equation.
Right.
That's absolutely a fact.
And let me deal with just all the other things that tempt me all the time and the other ways that happens.
Right. And but the problem is because of sin, because we actually entered sin, then now we have actually given dominion to the enemy.
Okay.
And so now he actually has
I didn't do nothing.
I know you're like, I'm innocent of all this, but unfortunately we're paying we're paying the price for, the actions that were made from Adam and Eve.
I don't know them. I don't have anything to do with them.
Never met them?
Never met them.
Never talked to them?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. That's just that's just the deal. And so, from all that time, there's a reason that, even Paul refers to Satan as the prince of the air. Like there's some level of authority that the enemy has been given. Okay.
Oh.
Because we relinquished that authority.
I didn't do nothing.
Through sin. I know, but unfortunately,
I sinned later though.
You did
a couple times.
Just a couple though.
Yeah.
Right. Very minimal amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And now you're sinning right now because you're lying. So, but that's, part of the thing is like,
it was joking.
Well,
it's not lying if you joke.
So I can just do whatever I want to and say it's joking and get away with it. Is that what you're saying?
It was a joke.
I was a joke. I didn't mean to kill the guy.
Yeah.
Like, joke. So, no, that's hell, yeah, I
didn't even bury him. I was trying to get caught. You guys are stupid.
Yeah, now we're just building layers upon layers of sin, but that's okay.
Okay.
Well, no, that's okay. That's not okay, but that's what's happening.
Right.
All right. Back to the question. Yeah, so I do think that, because the Lord could just remove Satan part of the equation, but it would have to have been prior to the fall is what I'm getting to. Okay?
Okay.
Now, we do know that Satan is going to be removed from the equation once Christ returns.
Okay.
So when Christ returns and establishes the kingdom of God on earth, right? Like the kingdom of earth becomes the kingdom of God. When that happens, Satan is done away with. Okay.
Okay.
And so, so at that point, that is true.
So heaven is not so heaven is just a place where do we have free will in heaven?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like, does that aspect change for us? It would have to.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. We would have to have free will. That's what I meant. Like we'd have to have free will because even angels, even getting back to Satan, if we believe he was one of the fallen angels, they had free will in heaven as well.
Right. Okay. So if heaven's perfect, it must be more perfect than even the Garden of Eden because there was still something to be tempted with there.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I think one of the interesting things is because in heaven All right. Here's why I'm pausing. Okay.
Okay.
Because so in heaven, so there is the full presence of the Lord that's there. Okay. Right. But we know that even angels, even in the presence of the Lord, fell. Right. They made the decision to fall away.
Okay.
And even in the garden, we know that God was walking among Adam and Eve.
Right.
Even after the fall, there's God walking among them. And so, but I think to get to your point, because heaven is still a created space.
Right.
So it's not like it's insular or some kind of transcendent, environment that's different, than what we have here on earth.
Right. So are we just going to see no reason to sin?
Okay.
And therefore all of us choose never to do that? And that's what makes heaven perfect?
Yeah, I think what it'll be for us is that simply beholding the Lord will be enough to hold us with him. Okay? Because we will see the Lord. Okay, so maybe here's the difference.
Okay.
Here's the difference. In heaven, we will see the Lord, behold the Lord in the fullness of his glory.
Okay.
Even Adam and Eve didn't do that on earth.
All right.
And I think that is the difference.
Okay.
Is that we will behold the Lord in the fullness of his glory and who he is.
And so we'll just never choose to sin.
Right. Because we will be in the presence of the one who is full peace, full joy, full, in other words.
But so did Satan, though.
What's that?
So did Satan, though. So what was the difference for them?
Because I think it was the way they were relating to God. Because angels are just, the word we use for angel there is just messenger. Like they're just messengers. They're just servants. They're not relating to God as a father the way we're relating to God as a father, or know. And so I think it's the relational aspect that is different between us and between us and God and the angels and God.
Satan just wanted to change his relationship to God.
Satan wanted to be God.
Okay.
Basically be like, or let me rephrase that, be like God. He knows he can't be God. God's a being, if you were, that has never been created, right? He's just always has been.
So did Satan sin then? Was that a sin that he did?
Yes.
How?
Because, all right, so hold on now.
Who tempted him?
All right, so
himself?
Yes. I mean, to be honest with you,
okay.
Yes. It was more than just like Satan saying, all right, I want to be like God, and that was it. Okay, because obviously anyone can say anything. But the issue for Satan was, so in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, it says, how you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. And so the issue is that Satan didn't just want to become like God. He actually led a rebellion to do it. Okay. And then, of course, in Revelation, we see where it goes even further with that.
So he wanted his relationship to God to change. He wanted 100%. So that's why you said they relate to God differently.
Yeah.
So we would never think in heaven, people would never think in heaven that we could be God and think we could do anything about it.
Correct.
And there would be no temptation there for us to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because, and again, in Revelation chapter 12, it kind of reaffirms this whole thing what I'm saying. So in Revelation 12, verse 7, then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. And so we see that this is actually, again, just the Lord casting Satan and those that attempted to rebel with him they were actually thrown down to the earth.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because...
And all the other angels saw what happened last time, and they're never going to do that again.
They're like, we don't have any part of that.
Okay.
Well, again, unless we get into the angels that are discussed in Genesis chapter 6, then we get into the whole Nephilim discussion again. And so we're just going to stay away from that for right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yes.
All right.
Because I don't want this episode to become a Nephilim episode.
Okay.
But yeah, no, but I think that's the biggest thing. It's like when we are in heaven with the Lord, we're going to see him, behold him. And again, every longing within us will be ultimately fulfilled within him.
And God knows all of the God can see all of the eternity. So if he's telling us it's going to be perfect, he's telling us that none of us are ever going to willingly do any sin for all of eternity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because see, here's the thing. It's like because the beautiful part is once we are in heaven, right? Or on because heaven comes down to earth as part of new creation, right?
Right.
And
that's where we ultimately end.
That's where we ultimately end and spend the rest of our eternity is here in new creation.
Okay.
And so we will have glorified bodies.
Right. And there will be a nice tree there that he says not to.
Right. Don't you touch that.
Don't touch that thing.
But
someone's going to do it, and then this whole thing's going to start over again.
Lord, I really hope not.
Yep.
No, but that
we're gonna get up there and be like, who the hell are you guys? We're from Glorf. What?
We were the first group that tried this.
Yeah.
No, it's not the way it's going to work out. We're from Glorf. Oh God. So
you guys love this guy too? Sweet.
So we think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. All right.
How do you die on your planet? Right?
Oh God. Yeah. Now we're getting the whole nerd thing, right?
All right. Never mind. Sorry.
No. All right.
Okay. So I don't know why I asked you that.
Okay. So. All right, one last statement about the glorified body. Because we'll have glorified bodies, we'll no longer have a sin nature within us. Right?
Okay.
I mean, so
Satan's not there tempting us.
Right.
Our bodies isn't tempting us. The only thing that could be tempting us is outside anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
Outside of us. Yeah.
And that's not going to matter because everything's going to be so great that it's all the way satisfying for everything.
Correct.
Because we're in the presence of God.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. So there is no outside agitating anything either.
No, and I think we just underestimate like how incredible it's actually going to be in the presence of the Lord. Right.
Okay.
To be in his full presence, not like, partial presence or, it's like full presence of the Lord, right? Where it talks about there will be no light because the Son of God is the light, right? There will be no temple. He is the temple. Like
how are we going to sleep?
Just constantly be just light, constant. I don't know. Maybe we don't need sleep. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we need sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work. Good question. You can ask the Lord that when we get there.
Great. Where do we sleep? You don't. Oh.
Right. Those mansions you've been hearing about? Yeah, they're just for show.
Yeah. Here's your treasure.
Right.
Wow, it's small.
Well.
Ooh, oh well. Everything's so perfect. Okay.
No, you're going to love it. We'll be very grateful for whatever we receive from the Lord.
And Pastor Joseph has nothing because he kept sinning all the time. That's all your faults, by the way.
Right. Yes.
All right, next question. Here we go. Is there a way to get temptation to completely stop?
To completely stop?
Yeah.
No. No, there's always going to be temptation.
On Earth?
On Earth.
Okay.
Yes.
No matter where I go on Earth?
Correct.
All right.
Yes, there will always be some form of temptation.
Okay.
That will never end until new creation.
Are there things I can do to limit temptation? Like live in a bunker?
Well,
never talk to people.
Well, I think it's interesting that actually the Lord actually asked us to pray about this in Matthew chapter 6, right?
To pray about bunkers?
No, not to pray about the bunkers. To pray about temptation, actually.
Okay.
And so in Matthew chapter 6, verse 13, It's in the Lord's Prayer. It's in the prayer that Jesus teaches his disciples to pray.
Okay.
He says, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. And so there is the reality of praying. And even Jesus tells, when he's in the Garden of Gethsemane about to be betrayed, he even tells Peter and James and John, hey, stay awake, stay alert, pray that you will not be tempted. Okay. And so there is this reality of like, we can actually pray and ask the Lord, Lord, protect us from entering into temptation.
You just did the thing.
What'd I do?
The pray about it answer.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
You're like, that's such the pastor answer. Just go pray about it.
Pray about it.
Yeah. But okay. But there's also like, all right, there's the praying part that, and I don't want to undercut that because I think that's where I think in prayer is when our hearts can actually change, our minds can actually change, right?
Okay.
So there's the praying part. Then there actually is the renewing our mind part. So in Romans chapter 12, in verse 2, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Okay.
Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And so there is actually a renewing of the mind that happens that comes from just being in the Word, hearing the Word, being with the Lord, being in his presence. All of those things renews our mind, renews our heart. And so I think as we pray, as our mind is renewed, as we continue to gather together. So in Hebrews...
And pray.
and pray. So yes.
I didn't just mean pray about it. I mean get together with other people
right.
praying about it.
Everybody needs to be praying all the time. Oh, Lord. All right. And so in Hebrews chapter 10,
Hebrews chapter 10, pray about it. Pray about it a lot. Pray about it here and pray about it hither. Pray about it thither and thither.
That's a Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hold on.
Will you pray on a plane? Will you pray on a train? Sorry, I made myself laugh.
All right. So in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24, it says, and let us consider how we spur one another on toward love and doing good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. And so there's this, so there's the praying, there's the renewing of our mind by being in the Word, by being in prayer, by being in his presence. There's also the gathering together that actually helps keep us following the Lord together. Okay. And I think in that place of coming together is the confession of sin and all that kind of stuff and bringing light into the situation. So it's another thing that keeps us, if you were, from temptation. And then I think there's just the practical parts, right?
Okay.
Like if I know that I am struggling in a certain area, that I'm more likely to be tempted in this area. Excuse me. If I know I'm more likely to be tempted in a certain area, then like do the practical things to keep you from, from that temptation being even more thrown in your face.
Okay.
And so I think I think it's the praying, I think it's being in the Word and being in his presence that renews us. I think it is transforms us. I think it is the, being together with the body of Christ and the practical stuff.
How does the devil not get bored of tempting us forever?
How does he not get bored?
Because I would get bored.
Okay. Yeah, because that's like his thing.
Of the same thing over and over again.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we switch topics.
Okay.
On this podcast.
Right.
And don't talk about one thing forever, except for that one thing that we kind of talked about forever.
Right.
Last week.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get bored.
Yeah, I know.
So how does he not get bored?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if he's just not as like ADHD as some of us or what, but in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8,
Okay.
Be sober-minded, be alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for anyone he can devour.
I thought God was the lion.
He's the Lion of Judah.
So they're both lions?
There's always a counterfeit, brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, man. You're from the charismatic circles.
Okay.
You got to know there's a counterfeit for everything that's real.
Yeah, but it doesn't say like bad lion or ugly lion or anything like that. It just says he's also a lion.
Right. Counterfeit.
Okay.
Always counterfeits.
He's the Lion of not Judah.
Right. Yeah, the Lord is the Lion of Judah.
Of Mecca.
Maybe. So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
that's the evil
that's
opposite
the
of
evil
the other
opposite.
one?
Well,
right?
Yeah. So, anyways, all right. So, yeah, but the devil prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for anyone he can devour. So you're right. Like, this is actually what he's doing, like, all the time. But this is what he's doing. Yeah. Is he is looking, how can he tempt us to step into sin? Like, from point one in the garden to, until he is literally bound and chained up and then eventually destroyed. Like, that's what he's doing.
Maybe it's just a different challenge every time.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to do it differently every time, and he enjoys the hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, think about, he's got he's got his own kingdom. That's, that is systematically, and intentionally, like, working to try to draw God's creation into that kingdom.
Right.
Or keep them in that kingdom. And so I think, kind of going back to that idea of how prideful he was, like that. I think he's driven, if I'm being honest, he's driven by pride and driven by jealousy. Okay. And so, yeah. And it is pretty wild that it's lasted this long,
right?
But
you think it'd be slowing down by now.
Yeah. But they're also different beings than us,
Right. They don't have energy.
Well, we don't know how long, those, because they're spiritual beings, we don't know how long those spiritual beings have, like, even been in existence, trying to put years onto them.
Oh.
We don't know. So.
Oh, right, because our years aren't their years.
Yeah, and they precede us.
Right. Do people get so worn down with trying to resist temptation that they just give in?
Sure.
And how do you deal with that? Like, have you seen that before?
Oh, sure.
Like where it's not like them pursuing something. It's like they just couldn't help it any longer, and now they're dead or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I think it happens. I think a lot of people have that happen to us.
Okay.
Even like on the small, like, it could be like small things. Like, I'm being tempted to, eat this cookie when I shouldn't because it, of sugar, and I'm a diabetic, and right. Like on like small things like that, being tempted to do certain things. And I say small, it can become a big thing, but I'm just saying, like, over time, you're just eventually like, ugh, tired of fighting. Okay. And so whether that's food related, whether that is lust related, whether that is substance abuse related, I think there's a lot of temptation out there that, where I've seen people just say, I can't, and maybe the I'm falling into temptation is like I've been fighting it, I've been good, and then there's the one time thing of,
murder.
Hopefully not murder. Hopefully not murder. But the one time thing of just like, okay, I can't fight it anymore, right? I give in. But then they're able to pick themselves back up and go, okay, all right, I shouldn't have done that. And I really repent from it, ask for forgiveness, and move on. Okay. But then there's other individuals that, man, it's just like this. I feel like it's a back and forth fighting, right? They fight for a while, give in, and they're fighting again, And there's nothing for individuals that are in that place, and they're literally, they are fighting the temptation. Like, they're trying, like not only am I cheering them on, but I feel like the Lord is too. like, even though the Lord may know they're going to fall, like, he's also like, okay, but you, like, I'm for you. I'm with you. Like, and he's, obviously there's a grace there to not do that. But when he sees our heart intentions and he sees that our hearts are going, no, but I don't want to live this way. I don't want to, I don't want to live in sin. I don't want to remain in sin. I don't want to be in sin, but I just, I'm just having a hard time overcoming this temptation, or having a hard time, remaining free, from it. Okay. Because I get so tired from it, from just fighting against it. No, I mean, so I think there's an honoring in that too, of like the Lord. I'm not saying the Lord honors our sin, because he doesn't, but he honors our desire to want to follow him, So
how many times of giving in would you say someone's in sin? Or is it their constant heart to not want to do it, even if one person gives in to the exact same thing more often than a different person?
Right. No, I mean, sin's sin. Like, let's call it for what it is, right? Like, if I do it one time, or if I do it 20 times or 3,000 times, sin is sin. So even if I'm doing it the one time after fighting, not wanting to step into it, and I fall into it, I still fell into temptation, and I still sinned. Okay. And so,
but you always make a distinction between one-offs and
and I make a distinction
in sin stuff,
right? And I try to make a distinction between individuals that are like willfully rebelling, like you know what, like, just forget it. This is what I'm going to do, and like live in that place, like, I just willfully rebel, and I'm just going to live in sin and forget it all, There's that, and then there's the individuals that are literally, I mean, they're trying to fight, to remain free. And so I think there's a big difference between the willful, like, disobedient, rebellious, and the individual that, I mean, obviously, when you sin, you sin. I'm not ever going to sugarcoat that, because if it was just one sin, it was enough to put Christ on the cross. I do think that there's that difference, though, of an individual that, yes, they've sinned, and yes, it's wrong, and yes, it was what Christ took on the cross. But there's also, there's love, and there's grace, and there's mercy there. I mean, for anyone, right? Like, that's always available. It's always there on the cross. And I think when the Lord is looking at our hearts and looking at our lives, like, he knows we're trying. He knows what's on the other side. It's like even the Lord's heart for Peter, like, he knows Peter is going to betray him or deny him.
Oh, right.
He knows Peter's going to deny him 3 times. Like, he knows that.
And then he does it 3 times right in a row.
Right. But the Lord also says, I'm praying for you, Peter. And so I think that's an incredible part of the Lord going, but I'm for you. Like, I know this is going to happen.
Because he knows Peter.
I'm for you.
Peter still loves him, even though he's denying him.
Yeah, completely.
And is going to feel instantly ashamed after doing that.
Yeah, and Peter does.
Yeah.
And Peter, it's immediate. And I think it's one of the reasons that when Jesus appears back to Peter and he has this conversation with Peter in John chapter 21, so this is after Jesus has, risen, he has shown himself to the disciples. Everyone believes that this is the resurrected Christ and that Jesus is back. And now the guys have been off, fishing. Jesus builds a campfire there and on the shore. Peter jumps out of the boat, goes to the campfire. And the same setting where Peter denies, or a similar setting, not exactly the same, but a similar setting. So Peter denies Christ 3 times around a campfire. Okay. So now in John 21, here's a campfire again. And Jesus asks Peter 3 times, do you love me? And I think what Jesus is giving Peter the opportunity to do is to experience forgiveness, to experience love, and to experience redemption. Okay. So there's 3 denials, and 3 times he says, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these? And he says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And I feel like that's such a incredible statement from Peter. He's like, I love you. Feed my lambs, Jesus tells him. And a second time he asks him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, he said to him, you know that I love you. Shepherd my sheep, he told him. And then he asked him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And then it says Peter was actually grieved that he had asked him the third time, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know everything. And you know that I love you. And feed my sheep, Jesus
All of
says.
that stuff sounds sarcastic.
Because that's the way you
Yes, I love you. You know that already.
Because that's the way
you're God.
Right. Because that's probably the way you would say it.
That's how I would say it.
Right.
But after the third time, that's how he was saying it. Because at the third time, he's like, you know everything.
Right. Well, there's a reason that he says that he was grieved. Like, because he's going, like, Lord, don't you know my heart? And I understand that in the Greek, there's a difference in the word love here. Okay. Jesus is saying, do you agape me? And then Peter's response is, you know that I phileo you. Jesus once again says, do you agape me? And he says, you know I phileo you. And then a third time, he actually comes, and I love this because Jesus then uses phileos. Do you phileo me? And you know I phileo you. And so, and there's different takes on what the different Greek words mean there. But the heart of the conversation, the nature of the conversation is Jesus wanting to allow Peter to know that not only does Jesus love him, but Jesus does know, like he's drawing it out of Peter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love you. And I think that's such a great question, like from Jesus, like, do you know I love you? Like, you know everything and you know I love you. And even if it's, and some people make the distinction between like agape and equate that to like God's love of like this, this putting others before self type love, sacrificial love, versus phileo, which would be more of like a friendship level love. And so some people will say, well, Peter can't quite say, well, I'd lay my life down for you because he couldn't do that. He didn't do that. But I love you. I love you as a friend. And that's what Jesus had called them. I call you friends. You're my friends. He just told them that in John 15, right before he died. I called you friends. And so I love you. I love you as a friend. And maybe there's even that grief in Peter of, I didn't love you enough to lay my life down for you, but I love you as a friend. And Peter being restored by the Lord and saying, okay, Peter, I'm entrusting you with my people. You messed up, but I'm still entrusting you with my people. And kind of getting back to our conversation on temptation here, I think that's such a amazing story we see here in John 21, because it's allowing us to know that even when we mess up and even when we sin, the Lord sees all that. He knows all of that. And yet he's still wanting to forgive. He's still wanting to redeem. He's still wanting us to fulfill the calling that he has for our lives.
And he knows we love him.
And he knows that,
already.
Yes.
Even though we did a sin.
Even though we did a sin.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows that. And so I think that sometimes that actually, and talking about one of the things that actually helps us overcome, temptation, I think one of those things is actually knowing our identity in Christ and knowing how loved we really are by the Lord. That even in our brokenness and even in our hurt, even in our being tempted, there's a Lord saying, I love you and I care for you. And you don't have to live in the brokenness. You don't have to live in the sin. And that you are a child and that you are mine, and that identity of who we are in Christ actually can be one of those things that can transform us to go, you know what? I don't need to actually step into this temptation because I'm with the Lord, and I actually, as his child, I'm living in a place of shalom, if you were. I'm living in a place of peace. I'm living in a place of completeness and rest. And so I think that that's a part as well, is knowing who the Lord and his love for us, and knowing that even though sometimes it can be kind of immature, our own love for him. And I say immature,
okay.
What I mean by that is it's genuine, but it's not full-blown maturity yet, in the way we love and care, but it's still genuine. It's just we're still being, assailed, if you were, by these temptations. So,
all right. So our country likes to make laws like drug laws and prostitution laws and prohibition, and can't buy alcohol between 11:30 on Saturday night and 12:30 on Sunday morning for some reason, but you can buy it 24 hours the rest of the week.
Right.
Stupid stuff like that. to limit temptation for people.
Okay.
So what do you think about all that?
All right. I don't know if it's actually trying to limit temptation. I think it's trying, we can get into the alcohol thing here in a second, but I think a lot of the others are actually trying to protect people.
Okay.
And so, in other words, it's not like, you brought the prostitution one. I think it's actually not as much about the temptation to engage in prostitution as it is to try to protect individuals from entering into that lifestyle and being caught up in it and enslaved into it. So for me, I think it's more of a protection of. But if they had to protect
cocaine
people.
And prostitutes at Walmart, more people would be tempted to get cocaine and prostitutes.
Sure. And I was going to say the drug thing too, right? I think the thing with drugs is that you're trying to protect people. So I think it's more of a protection mechanism of individual life. Okay.
Should I have picked something different?
No. I think it's fine. Now the one with alcohol is interesting because we do have histories in our country of trying to just shut the whole thing down, right? Yeah. And I do think that largely has been driven at times by especially in the South here in the church, going alcohol bad, evil, and that's the way it's framed. And so
so this is trying to limit temptation.
I do think
that's why this one's different than the other two.
I do think so.
Okay.
Although in saying that, I do think also it is an attempt, for example, we have a minimum age of drinking, right? And I do think that is in place to try to protect people, right?
Okay.
Trying to protect individuals, young people from, being, and we know it doesn't work, right? I mean, we know individuals.
Correct.
We know individuals that when you're in high school or you're in you're in college or you're just a young adult or you're not 21 yet, getting alcohol is not hard, right? Being around people with alcohol, that's not hard, right? And so that's a reality, okay? So that's there. And so I think but I do think what it's an attempt to do is to say, hey, we do not want people to do things that they're not mentally or emotionally may prepared to engage with. But I also understand the other side of the argument, for example, of someone going, well, yeah, but you're saying they're emotionally and mentally ready to go off to war at 18.
Right.
So I'm not here to debate the minimum age thing of alcohol. All I'm saying is I think there's the reasons for minimum age. I think there is a protection mechanism in that, but not that I'm saying that it's been thought out in the most completely solid, logical way. But I do think that's the intent behind it. Okay. And so, but I do think that, especially here in the South, there is a huge part of it that is also connected to we want that temptation of alcohol removed.
Because we used to have no sodomy laws everywhere. Right. And no sex before marriage laws.
Yep.
And stuff like that. You think all that's bad? Because that's trying to deter me from the temptation to do that, right? Isn't that about temptation?
Yeah, and I think it's trying to probably
that's trying to make the consequences of doing those things worse, so that I'm not as tempted to do them.
And I think an attempt to really kind of instill, and of course we won't, as a country, we do have biblical values and morals,
vice laws. That's what these are, right?
Yeah. And so we do have biblical morals and values that govern a lot of what we do, the way we handle certain things, But I do think there's a lot of things that it's like you're trying to legislate morality,
Right.
By saying, hey, these are the laws these things to us are sin, therefore we want there to be laws against them.
Okay.
And that works on bigger scale things, like we think murder's a sin, therefore we need to have laws against murder, right? No one's arguing taking a life should be allowed, right? I mean, right. And so, and I understand there's self-defense and that kind of stuff, but we understand murder is not okay. But I do think there has obviously been at times the attempt to bring in through legislation these moral types of things that like you're talking the vice laws and if you look at like state laws, and especially in the South, like it's
some of them are still wacky
and some are still crazy because they've not been cleaned out. But like you look back at over the course of the history of our states, like we've had some really crazy laws, like
living together before you're married and stuff like that.
All those kind of things. And so I do think that's I think some of them are okay, depending on what they are. Like again, like the bigger ones, but not. I think we have to allow kind of the same thing, like the freedom of free choice and free will. I think we have to allow that,
within the law.
In the law, within obviously we have to have law and order, right? I mean, we're trying to function as a state, as a country. You got to have law and order, so we have to have some parameters of what that looks like. So we're inevitably going to legislate some things in, and so I think probably we try to legislate the things in that are trying to protect individuals from physical harm and trying to protect things from, like, we want to protect our minors, our children.
I think the murder thing, though, is just the state has to protect its own citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a state.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
If it has no people.
Right.
So,
it's people out there just knocking off everybody. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Okay. There's a difference between me living with someone before I'm married or drinking and killing somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's where you draw distinctions.
Yeah, I think, right.
Like we're allowed to, the government's not necessarily, because I guess the government's not necessarily legislating morality when it doesn't want you to kill its citizens. It's just preserving its own existence.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's not as much of a moral thing as like a protection thing.
Right.
Protecting people against bodily harm and those kind of things. Like protecting children.
But you could even
minors.
say it's not even designed for that. It's designed to make it needs people to exist for it to be relevant.
Sure, and
so it's got its own interest.
Right. Right, in its most rudimentary levels. Right. But I guess because our country does have a biblical, or at least a Judeo-Christian worldview in its founding, right? Like we see these things through a moral lens often.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't have to see it that way.
But you don't have to see it that way to just see it as the objective good of the state.
But prohibition's just moral.
Right.
Like we're not, yeah.
Right. Unless the state perceived it as this issue that was going to crumble the state.
Right.
Because it had become such a massive issue.
Right.
Right. And then at that point, you probably would legislate it.
Right.
Right. And you may even do it under the guise of morals when you're really but you're really just trying to say we can't have everybody just becoming alcoholics and and the state collapsing from within.
The alcohol one's so easy because we still have the laws, some of them.
Right.
Like you have to last call at this time, and at the football game you can't buy it in fourth quarter.
Right.
And we make all, you know what I'm saying? We make all these things around it. Like how far should that go?
Yeah. Well, and and I think that
is that Christian? Are those Christian reasons that those exist, or is that?
I think that's what I'm saying. I think historically they have been.
Okay.
Right.
And they just still are that way.
They still are that way, and some of them will view it still through the Christian lens, and others will not.
It seems like in Georgia they don't want you to get drunk on Saturday so you can make it to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah. I think that's fair, and I think like
which
you said,
seems religious.
No one's going to argue that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think it's,
or at least where we are. I don't know if it's different other places.
Right, and I think it's interesting because,
maybe people are going to know what county I'm in now.
Right. Well, but I think too, this was there's still. Well, I'm getting to like there are still groups of individuals, whether it's fraternities or whatever, that they still have a moral code of we won't drink on Sundays.
Right.
Right. Plastered on Saturday, fine.
Yeah.
but we're not going to drink on Sundays.
Yep.
You know, and they still will hold to
and
that.
Sunday starts at 6 a.m.
Correct.
Sunday.
Correct.
We're drinking till then.
We're drinking till then. But there is, and I laugh about it, but it's actually, I mean, it's a real thing. Like that's like, there's like these moral codes that are still in existence.
And then they sleep it off for 3
right,
hours.
And it's not like they're
and then take up 5 rows in some church with their cargo pants on, all hungover. We're going to church.
Everybody get up.
Yeah.
And I laugh about that. I've seen this happen, play out in real life. And my point being is like that moral code actually goes back to like a religious viewpoint, a Christian viewpoint of Sundays, we need to quote unquote be good, you know, and it is interesting how still to this day those things exist in our country, and I think you'll never root out completely that Judeo-Christian, you know, framework that's within us, or fabric or foundational points that are within us. So
do you think it's worth? Like where we are right now with the alcohol laws and the drug laws, like, is it worth fighting for a direction of it, or should we just like, what do you like?
Yeah,
I don't. I guess I just don't get it. Like, which way should I, as a Christian, be fighting for, or should we leave it alone?
Right, and just
leave them all alone where they are right now, and just say that's how it is.
Yeah,
because there's people that fight either direction, and do we as Christians have a?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard because, like, I mean, as a
should I be able to buy cocaine at Walmart?
Right, like no, like I'm just gonna say no.
Okay,
like, I think
why? Because you're trying to limit me being tempted to buy cocaine at Walmart.
Well, because, and I guess this goes back to the idea of just like physical harm, right?
Okay.
Like for me, I have seen too many individuals' lives get wrecked because of addiction to things like coke, meth, you know, opioids, whatever it is. Like, and so I do think there has to be. This kind of goes back to the state protecting its citizens. Like there has to be some form of a legislation of we've got to protect our citizens. Okay, and so that
stuff's all worse than alcohol.
Yeah, well, and this is the hard thing too, right? Because I've seen lives destroyed by alcohol, but then you've also, I mean, we know tons of people that drink socially and it not affect them, right? It's just, I do think there is a difference between the individual that is, you know, had a drink or two and that is able to handle that and maintain that, right? But I mean, you know, one hit of meth, like you're like that, you're not okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so there are, like, we have to be honest about the differences between, you know, substances.
Okay.
And so I think that's an important thing. And I do think there's a reason that, you know, we do have laws that say, hey, if you get caught, you know, driving under the influence, there's consequences for it, right?
Okay.
Like,
because we're trying to protect citizens.
Trying to protect citizens. Like those things are, you know, those things are in place for a reason. That's good. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So people that argue from a moral standpoint on most of the laws that we have right now aren't really arguing on a basis of morality, except other than the state's morality of wanting to keep as many of its citizens alive as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
is that more where we're at now than we used to be?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, obviously, in the Christian, you know, in the Christian world, in our Christian ethos, like we're going to be like, no, like those, like anything that can, like those substances, not good, right? Like that's, like we're going to have that position.
Like it's too highly addictive and you completely destroy your life and then you're a drain on society and then we have to help you. And
or not even drain on society, we have to help you. Just stop before that. Like you've ruined your life. Like you, you're ruining who God has created you to be. Right? Like you are destroying the image of God within you if you are, you know, like, and that for us, for me as a Christian, that's enough. Like, I don't need the other things added on to that. Like, just there. Like,
okay.
Like, and so, because we do
from the government's perspective.
From the government's perspective, absolutely. We don't want you to be a drain on society.
Right, okay.
You know, I say that, right? Like, like, because the government's sometimes they try to play it both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's call it for what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Like, keeping people poor and keeping people addicted in drugs to a degree,
so that
is big business, even for the government.
Right.
And so I feel like they try to play it both sides, and I'm not too cool with that. Like,
all right, so let's get mad at the people on the other side instead of the Christians not letting me buy alcohol at 11:30 at night on Saturday.
Right. Right. There's not enough Christians doing that.
Right.
I mean, to warrant. I mean, not to warrant it, but enforcing that.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. What do you get tempted with, Pastor Joseph, Dr. Demon Jr.?
What do I get tempted with?
Yeah.
It's funny. I was actually talking to the guys in my band group about this yesterday morning. My band group. So a couple of guys, we all meet together and confess to one another. Okay. And one of the things that I feel like for me is things that are like I have a temptation to want to hide things, keep things hidden.
Okay.
It's crazy because I see that like all the way.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's all I'm going. We'll keep that right there. And so, because I see that all the way back to like when I was a kid.
Okay.
Right. Like, so I can remember like when I was a little kid, and I remember we've all done this. Okay. But like, like when you get a like, I remember when I was in elementary school, you get like papers back, or, grades back, even report cards back. And you have to have a parent sign it. I don't know if you ever had that.
Yep.
Like, and a parent had to sign it, and then you submit it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, well, report cards, they're mostly mailing to the house, whatever. Again, this is when I was in school, right?
Yeah.
This is before I'm checking it online. Like, there is no online to check. Okay.
You're failing.
Right. And so like, but like, I remember like, I went through this thing of like a few times in a row, like forging my dad's signature and trying to get away, with a bad grade. And so like, I look back at it, like things like that when I was in elementary school, but like, it's been this like pattern in me of wanting to try to save face, of wanting to try to, and some of it's because I don't want to get like, I don't want to be, like I don't want to let my dad, for example, like that. Like, I didn't want to let my dad down that I had made bad grades. Like I wasn't actually as like nervous about, it wasn't even the consequence of it. It was just more of I didn't want to disappoint him. It's like, so and I feel like I just kind of did those kind of things, and I still have a tendency to do that.
All right. So what'd you hide recently?
So I hid recently.
Hid recently.
Hid. What have I hidden? Hid.
Hoed.
That's definitely not it. For me, like one of the things that even for me, like trying to hide, okay. is, and I'll pick a few different things that hopefully people can relate to, connect with. And so one of the things that I'm like really trying to deal with is getting like my blood sugar under control. Okay. And so if I'm at my worst, at Joseph's, like when I'm just kind of left to my own devices, right? Then one of the things I will do is I'll like not worry about that, or I'll worry about that in front of people, like at the house, that kind of thing. But then when I'm driving here to record a podcast, or when I'm driving, wherever, like, oh, I need to stop and get gas, and let's also get something there to eat that I shouldn't eat, right? Like, and that may sound like really simple, but it's creating these patterns or behaviors of hiding.
Okay.
And I think anytime, like, so for me, I'm tempted to do that. Okay. And it can create unhealthy things in me, whether that is, physically, whether that is financially, whether that is, sexually with what I'm looking at, all of those things you try to keep those things kind of like hidden. Okay.
Okay.
And by far, this was one of my bigger issues when I had pancreatitis, and I was had this really strict diet, and And it was just like, good Lord, sometimes I just want to have something that has a little fat to it, you know? But then it would trigger a pancreatic attack, and my wife would be like, why are you having a pancreatic attack? And I'd be like, you know, probably the double cheeseburger I had yesterday, you know, like, got me. So, you know, and,
you want some?
and so it's like that. And so like, or even like the hidden, like trying to hide, oh yeah, like I'm good with Jesus. I'm good with the Lord. I'm growing in the Lord. I'm just, you know, like, okay,
but you're not.
I am.
It's because you sin all the time.
It's because I sin all the time. Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
All right. So, but you know, like, all right, yeah, my time with the Lord, for me, my time with the Lord needs to be more consistent.
Okay.
You know, like I need to have more quiet daily time with the Lord that's more consistent.
Your time with the Lord is actually cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers in paradise. But you know, I think that's one of the things that like I feel like, again, it kind of, I can look back and go, there's this pattern to want to hide, you know, and by hide, I mean not only just like not revealing, but actually coming across as something different. Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Like all, like people ask me, how are you doing with your dieting and that? Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, like, you know, Melanie's making all these great meals. I'm doing great with my eating for meals.
So you hid and you lied.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it can lead to both.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, the phrase I used was hide and deceive.
Okay.
And I do think
that's the same thing. Just you said it different.
Yeah.
So,
well,
great.
and so, yeah. And but that's the words I used, right? Like, and I think that if we're not careful, that we all have these patterns or these things that we're tempted to do. And for me, I think the idea of like hiding is not unique to, I know it's not unique to me because I know it's not unique to mankind. Because what is the first thing Adam and Eve did after they sinned? They covered themselves, right?
They hid.
And so the idea of hiding. And so I do think that's been a thing probably across humanity. And what I'm trying to get to is going where we don't hide things, right? Like, and I think the idea of living in the light is a pretty big deal. And when I was a young pastor, someone shared this verse with me, and I'll just read it for us here. And so in Ephesians chapter 5, it said, everything exposed by the light is made visible. It's verse 13 and 14. So everything exposed by the light is made visible. For what makes everything visible is light. Therefore it is said, get up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. And I think often we want to keep things, again, hidden. Well, when we keep things hidden, we keep them in darkness. And when things are kept in darkness, that's the kingdom of Satan. Okay. That's where he has power, and that's where he has rule, and that's where he invokes shame, and that's where he invokes guilt, and that's where he invokes, manipulation. And so to bring out those things and to bring them into light, which is like what I was trying, or not trying, but which is what I did with my band brothers, and obviously doing now, is trying to bring these things out, right? And because I know that I in myself am not above. I have to know that I'm not above falling into like horrendous, sinful acts that can destroy not only my life, ministry, but impact lives of others as well, right? Like, so, another individual just this last week, came out having a Christian, leader came out with, 8-year affair. And it was just like,
what?
Yeah. Philip Yancey. I wonder if you've heard of
8 years?
8 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he had an 8-year affair that's just come out. And it's just like, and of course, my initial reaction was like, I'm mad at him because it's like, dadgummit, another Christian, leader. And you just get so frustrated with this. But then it's like, as my wife and I were talking, it was like, yeah, but it wasn't like he just had the affair. I mean, he had the affair for 8 years, but it was like, but what was all transpiring prior to that?
Oh.
And it was like, what are all the things that were feeding into his life that created that environment and the ability to do that? And so, and that's why I'm saying, like, the idea of hiding and deceiving, and it's like, they could be simple little things right now, but they can turn into something much larger down the road.
Okay.
If we don't bring them into light and allow them to be exposed and allow Christ to shine in these places and begin a place of not just healing, but freedom as well.
So all the other pastors said they did the same thing, right? Because that seems like a pastor thing to do. Is hide any time that you do anything that you're not supposed to because you don't want everyone talking about you and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think all of us as pastors want to try to put up a good front. Right. We want to try to present that it's all together. It's all nice packaged. It's not. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's not for any of us.
And you'll never tell me. Because it's all hidden.
It's all hidden. Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
All right,
or great. The Lord will. You're exposed, though, because you do it all the time.
Yeah.
You can't get out of it. So
no.
I'm going to keep bringing that up.
Thanks.
I'm offended by everything you do.
Well, thanks.
Okay, so what do you want to say to people dealing with a big old temptation that they're dealing with?
Well, I guess I'll just start from where I just stopped. The idea of making things visible, bringing things into light, right?
Okay.
Like if you know you're being tempted in an area and it's consistent, like bring that thing out in light. Like don't keep it hidden. Like make it known, make it seen, make it evident. Okay.
To what? To who?
To who? Okay. Now that's a good question. So whether that's a pastor, whether that's a confidant, a friend,
okay.
a spouse, tell somebody, okay?
Okay.
And confess. But I would say don't make it just a one-time thing. Like there's a reason I meet weekly with a couple of guys, right? Like the idea is that we're meeting regularly enough to where we can confess sins and what's going on in our lives, where we're keeping things in the light,
Okay.
And actually seeing individuals make major strides and progress in becoming free in certain things that they probably would not have if they didn't confess. So, I mean, I think confession is huge. And that's part of being part of that body of Christ that we talked about earlier from Hebrews 10.
Okay.
And so, remaining part of the body of Christ, but confessing with one another, being in the Word, having your mind transformed, being in the presence of the Lord, where the Lord is transforming you from glory to glory, as it says in 2 Corinthians 3:18. Prayer, and then obviously like the practical stuff. Like, what are there things practically that you need to do in your life to set up certain, whether it's boundaries or parameters, whatever it may be, to help,
Okay.
Then put those practical things in place as well. But I think confession is a great place to start.
And praying about it.
Prayer's always good.
Yay.
Yeah. But praying with one another is even better. I'll say that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that biblically accurate?
In this context of what we're talking about with dealing with sin. So in James chapter 5, verse 15, the prayer of faith will save the sick person, and the Lord will raise him up. If he has committed sins, he will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to one another, pray for one another, so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is very powerful in its effect. And that idea of confessing your sins to one another, pray for one another, so that you may be healed, is not just dealing with physical, it's actually dealing with the whole person, that you'll be made whole, is what it's actually saying. And so the prayer of a righteous person is very powerful in its effect. So in this context, that's what I said, prayer with others is even better, is even more powerful. That's what I mean in this context. Okay. I'm not saying don't have a prayer life. Obviously, we want to have a prayer life. Obviously, we want to ask the Lord to not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. So I'm not saying that. We don't do that. We do that. But this, to me, is huge when we're confessing to one another and we're praying for one another. That, to me, leads us even into greater freedom, and keeping us from stepping into habitual temptation, if you were.
Well, that was a whole episode of actually about temptation.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sick.
That was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we never have to talk about this again, except it'll probably come up at some point. Something else.
Until we do.
Until we do.
Yeah.
Next week, a new topic.
Sweet.
Well, this has been the When I Heard This podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and locals at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell. Tell everyone that you know about the show, and go to the website where there's t-shirts. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoff. You can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.